bodies.
Dan Britt is a professor at UCF who leads class. He says researchers are looking at the physical properties of asteroids and how materials behave in microgravity.
All of these things are part of the equation for trying to decide what's the smartest way and safest way to explore.
The information gathered by UCF students would help astronauts know what to expect in space. While doing research, students like Seamus Anderson are able to get hands-on experience in a lab.
I don't think that there's another thing out there that is more beneficial to do at UCF than research.
Anderson says the lab has given him the ability to work with NASA and expand his resume. Reporting in Orlando, Anna Espinosa, UCF Nightly News.
There is no timetable for these explorations.
Coming up on UCF's Nightly News, just 1 week after Hurricane Irma, Puerto Rico faces another natural disaster. One resident describes how the sights after the storm are unlike anything she's ever seen.
Plus, how Knights are coming together to help their peers by restocking the shelves at an on-campus food pantry.
Also ahead, your credit could be compromised after a major company was recently hacked. Some tips on how you can keep your finances safe.
In sports, one UCF tennis player is making history while qualifying for a major tournament.
Nightly News starts now. Good afternoon and welcome to Nightly News. I'm Anna Espinosa.
And I'm Hakeem Dixon. Today is Friday, September 22nd, 2017. As Florida continues to pick up the pieces from Hurricane Irma, Puerto Rico is now dealing with the devastation caused by Hurricane Maria. Residents on the island have no power and there's flooding in many areas. I found out what the Orlando community is doing to help the victims of the storm. With hurricane-force winds of up to 150 miles per hour, Hurricane Maria struck terror into the hearts of many Puerto Ricans. Streets flooded, buildings collapsed, and communication to and from the island is scarce. University of Puerto Rico student Kareni Escobar is one of few lucky enough to contact her parents, but hasn't heard from other family members.
The damages compared to other hurricanes, this has been, the worst. It's been devastating, and it's gonna take a while to get everything up and running.
CASA, an Orlando organization, helps support communities in cases of natural disaster, jump to help those affected on the island. Jimmy Torres is a coordinator at CASA. He says the hurricane can bring our communities together.
We need to show the world that now Puerto Rico and Florida are one community, and that we have people in both sides of the end.
CASA expects to help Puerto Rico recover over the next few weeks and maybe even months. Escobar hopes this is the last major hit Puerto Rico will take this hurricane season.
Hurricane season is still going, so we could possibly get hit again, which is the fear of many of us.
Wednesday night, President Trump signed a disaster declaration authorizing disaster relief efforts for Puerto Rico. CASA is hosting a blood drive Saturday from 2 p.m. to 10 p.m. and another on Sunday from 8 a.m. to 1 p.m. For more information on how you can help with donations or find other events, follow their Facebook page.
Continue after the 7.1 magnitude earthquake left Mexican cities in shambles earlier this week. Mexican authorities say that more than 200 people, including 21 school children, died and thousands were injured. There are many others trapped under collapsed buildings. Claudia Terrado was at work when the earthquake hit Mexico City.
When I was on the way to my house, everything was chaos. The city was full of traffic. There were some avenues that were closed, some important avenues.
She also says that despite the chaos, she saw a lot of love and sense of community among the Mexican people after this tragedy. Mexico declared 3 days of mourning for those killed in the earthquake.
Hurricane Irma's devastation in Central Florida caused more than structural damage to houses and trees. The massive power outage left many UCF students without a place to restock their food supply. Chris Hargrove shows us what UCF organizations are doing to help fellow Knights in need.
Diligently to help students recover from Hurricane Irma. Knights Pantry gives students, faculty, and staff in need access to food, water, clothing, and other housewares. Joanna Graysick, a manager at Knights Pantry, says that anyone, from a Knight to a parent, can donate and help.
Because a lot of people have lost things, but a lot of people also have recognized how much they could have lost. And they're like, I want to give to somebody who lost things, or a student who I have class with who doesn't have the same things that I have. So we've seen a large influx of giving, which is good.
Mike Morseberger, CEO of the UCF Foundation, says that during Hurricane Irma, he noticed some of the shelves in Knights Pantry were bare, so he decided to do something about it.
It's really very special, and it shows once again the power of philanthropy, and when we look out for one another, the good things that can happen. So it's fun to be a part of it.
Nelson Marchioli, a chair on the board of directors for the UCF Foundation, gave $25,000 of his own money in matching funds to the pantry. He challenged contributors to match his donation. They exceeded that amount and raised almost $74,000. SGA President Nick Larkins says student governments from other state universities wanted a role in the relief efforts.
They've all been reaching out to us saying, you know, we know Orlando was hit pretty hard, how can we help? And so just the outpouring of the offerings of support have been really tremendous so far.
The Fairwinds Alumni Center and the Student Union were also available for donation drop-offs. Organizations such as Volunteer UCF and the Recreation and Wellness Center were taking donations from students throughout the day. If you are interested in contributing to Knights Pantry, you can donate online, in Knights Pantry at Farrell Commons, or at the UCF Fairwinds Alumni Center. In Orlando, Chris Hargrove, UCF Nightly News.
A representative of the Recreation and Wellness Center says the UCF wrestling team donated 750 pounds worth of goods. Some items in high demand are water, soap, and clothing supplies.
UCF students and faculty gave back in a big way this week to those affected by Hurricane Irma. One Blood trucks are on campus every day this week after several natural disasters have increased the demand for blood, encouraging Knights to take just 30 minutes out of their day to donate. One Blood's website shows that depending on the severity of the case, one donation could save up to 3 lives. The trucks continue to accept donations on campus every Wednesday from 9 a.m. to 7 p.m.
Most of UCF's campus remains unharmed during Hurricane Irma, but places like the Arboretum are still feeling the effects of the storm. UCF's Arboretum suffered from toppled trees, flattened crops, and flooded pastures when the Category 4 storm spiraled through Central Florida. The Arboretum grows natural produce, which is donated to Knights Pantry and serves as a resource for UCF students. Garden and Greenhouse Manager Kelsey Johnson is working with student volunteers to restore the damaged crops. She says the Arboretum is a vital component to the UCF community.
I think it's very good that the students have access to free, fresh produce that is grown right here on campus. So we're working diligently and as quickly as we can to get that produce replanted.
Now volunteers are working to get crops ready for the fall. Replacement plants from the greenhouse will go out this week into the garden. Students can volunteer weekly in the morning and afternoon. Anyone can drop by to lend a helping hand.
After Irma forced UCF to cancel classes for 7 days, the university has officially announced that it will not extend the academic term. Student Development and Enrollment Services announced via email there will not be significant changes made to the academic calendar. Colleges, departments, and faculty have the flexibility to make adjustments in order to finish the semester on time. The school extended the deadlines for withdrawal, grade forgiveness, and class reinstatements until November 6th at 11:59 p.m.
So Chris, we woke up to a little bit of rain this morning, but I heard you snapped a pretty cool photo as you were coming into the studio.
Yeah, Hakeem, you've got to take a look at this picture I snapped on my way into class today. A very vivid rainbow over the UCF main campus after some early morning rain. Ooh, look at that, a double rainbow all the way across the sky. Looks like a sign of some things to come today. We're looking at about a 50% chance of rain throughout the day, high of around 90 degrees, winds pretty calm, 5 to 10 miles an hour. Later on in the show, I've got a look around the state and our 5-day forecast.
After the break, the latest on DACA and what UCF Dreamers are doing to make sure their peers know their rights.
Plus, how a recent security hack can leave your information vulnerable to online threats, what you need to do to stay financially safe.
Also, fellow Knights are taking their paintbrushes to the canvas, but we may never know who's behind the painting. When we come back.
Two dreamers from Central Florida are working to make sure their peers know their rights. And one of those DACA recipients is a UCF student. These young men are telling their stories, and it all comes after the decision to end the program. Reporter Brianna Vall sat down with them as they shared their struggles.
Certainly the Declaration of Independence doesn't say, when talking about pursuit of happiness, doesn't necessarily talk about living in the shadows. I don't think that's good.
That uneasy feeling for DACA recipients like Kevin Ortiz comes after September 5th.
The Department of Homeland Security should begin an orderly, lawful wind down.
The announcement of President Trump's decision to end the Deferred Action for Childhood Arrivals program. President of the Dreamers at UCF organization, Ortiz says it's led him to speak up for Dreamers with stories like this one.
Being humped down by my memories of like growing up and my parents telling me, hey, don't tell anyone, you almost have to live a double life.
Ivan Vasquez says his parents, undocumented, came to America when he was young. A DACA recipient at Seminole State College, he uses opportunities like this recent forum to shed light on a dreamer's reality.
Even though we had a protected status, it's like we're always looked down upon as like a second-class citizen, and it's like we don't really belong here.
As part of a panel at the forum, Vasquez shares his testimony, answering questions alongside experts. Like Ortiz, forum attendees say they hope to see at the very least a future for DACA.
DACA was never enough. DACA is not enough. we need to pass something that is completely permanent.
But hope even more so for a long-term solution. In Orlando, Brianna Voles, UCF Nightly News.
The Department of Homeland Security officials say they're rejecting all first-time applications filed after the announcement was made, but some who meet certain criteria may still be considered for a 6-month period.
The Identity Theft Resource Center reports data breaches are increasing at a record speed this year. Earlier this month, Equifax announced a data breach that left millions of U.S. consumers' personal information at risk. Equifax is one of the 3 major credit reporting agencies in the United States. The hackers had access to names, social security numbers, birth dates, and addresses. Ted Reynolds, a UCF political science professor specializing in cybersecurity, says using debit cards makes you more vulnerable to these kinds of threats.
I always encourage my students to try to get away from debit cards and either use credit cards that they'll pay off regularly or get a different debit card that's not tied to your bank account.
Men's students stop using public Wi-Fi while banking on their phones or computers. He also says to make sure your computer has the latest software update and to constantly check your bank accounts for unauthorized purchases.
With the recent tragedy our state has faced, here at Nightly News, we want to bring some positivity to your day. Today, we start our Positively Night segment with reporter Brianna Voles.
Thank you guys. That's right. If the fact that it's Friday isn't enough good news for you, we've put together some things that should brighten your day before we head into the weekend. Our reporter Danielle Case explained a bit of what the Arboretum faced after Hurricane Irma, but I thought I'd show you what extent our nights went to get that mess cleaned. These pictures were posted on the Arboretum Facebook page last Friday. You see the amount of debris here in this giant pile. Huge tree down over there. Students were still out of school for the week when these were taken, but put their off time to good use so things would already be looking better when campus reopened. On Monday, SGA called on students to thank those who helped with Irma relief, and boy, did our peers answer. UCF PD tweeted these pictures Wednesday after receiving the cards. Look how happy these guys are. Awesome and definitely appropriate gesture. We really appreciate our officers, first responders, and all emergency officials who run toward the mess in times like these so that we don't have to. Thank you, SGA, for putting this together for us. Some other good news. CEO World Magazine named UCF's Rosen College second in the world, that's right, the world, for the best hotel management and hospitality colleges. Congrats to our Rosen neighbors. Looks like you made a good choice on where to learn. And lastly, this may be the fluffiest story you hear today, literally. I mean, look at that tail. Student union officials shared this picture on Twitter just a few days after Irma's passing. Just like us, this little guy looks happy to be safe and back on campus. That's all for today, Knights. This weekend, the weekend is here. Let's make it a great one. Back to you guys at the desk.
We'll tell you what the weather looks like for the rest of the weekend coming up.
Plus, a new building is under construction at UCF. We'll tell you how the oldest building on campus is being replaced when we come back.
Various paintings decorate the walls of John C. Hitt's library, and who's the artist behind the canvas, we may never know. The hidden artist became a tradition in 2008 when the artists gathered for a reception with food, music, and socializing. Students, faculty, and staff exhibited their art anonymously. Display include a variety of styles such as mixed media and photography. The showcase will run until September 29th. For more information, contact Hidden Artists on Facebook.
After 40 years standing, Colburn Hall is scheduled for demolition at the end of next year. UCF Communication Coordinator Rachel Williams says as the oldest building on campus, it comes with tons of infrastructure problems. Trevor Colburn Hall will stand next to the old building. The facilities planning and constructions department decided to start from scratch in what used to be the teachers' parking lot. The current tenants will be moved into the new building once the original is torn down. Williams also says there are currently no plans for the original building.
Chris, it's the first day of fall. Can we expect sweater weather anytime soon?
You're right, Anna. It is the first day of fall, but it doesn't necessarily feel like it outside. There was a little rain this morning, like I said. So let's take a look at around the state and the highs that we've got going on. Tallahassee's up there with the coolest temperature besides Jacksonville at an 89 degrees. Jacksonville sitting at 87, Tampa at 90 degrees, Orlando at 90 as well, and Miami at 86. Let's take a look at those lows for tonight. Tallahassee sitting at 71, Jacksonville 74, Tampa at 74 as well as Orlando, and Miami at the warmest at 80 degrees, so they're definitely not feeling any fall weather. Now let's take a look at our 5-day forecast and what you can expect over the weekend. Saturday is our greatest chance of rain with a 60%, high of 87. Sunday goes down a little bit, 20% chance of rain with a high of 88, low of 73. Monday a little bit more of the same, 89 for the high, 20% chance of rain, 72 is your low. Warms back up a little bit on Tuesday, 90 degrees, 73 for your low. No really any rain in the forecast there, but 20% just in case. And Wednesday you're looking almost the same exact thing, 90 for your high, 73 for your low, and 20% chance of rain. Back to you guys.
So no sweater weather yet, but after the break, one night is at an ace on the tennis court, how he's making UCF history at a national tournament.
Plus, the UCF football team comes together when tragedy strikes Central Florida. How they're using teamwork for more than just touchdowns when we come back.
Good afternoon, UCF Knights. I'm Tiffany Thompson with your sports update. UCF men's tennis team started practice this week at the USTA complex in Lake Nona. The Knights kicked off their first season under Coach Roddick, brother of Andy Roddick, with a 16-7 record. This earned them a bid to the NCAA tournament, which is a first since 2005. Officials say senior Corey Levitt made history by being the first UCF player to qualify for the NCAA men's singles tennis tournament.
To him.
Levitt says his success is due to the coaching he receives from John Roddick. Roddick says Levitt and his team's achievements are because members are dedicated and work extremely hard. He says his team is young, but he expects even more results in the near future. Roddick says that the team's first game is scheduled the weekend of October 6th. Half of the team will be competing in Tallahassee, and the other half will be playing in Houston. Football returns this weekend, but the upcoming game comes after weeks of tragedy in Central Florida. UCF football team members say they learned a valuable lesson during the disaster. Let's take a look at how the Knights are using what they learned during Irma for their away game on Saturday.
The team got together to feed locals and fill sandbags for people dealing with flooding. They weren't only helping the community, they were also helping the troops. Wide receiver Cam Stewart says he feels honored to feed National Guard members after the hurricane.
It was a humbling experience. You know, we get to help feed the Army and just start a conversation with people that we never met before and hearing their experiences and whatnot. And we just really just took time away from football to help out in the community.
Stewart says he bonded with his team members while they rode out the storm at Towers Dorm. Head coach Scott Frost says he watched his team work together off the field helping the community.
When people are hurting and when there's damage in the area, we have an army of guys here and we're going to be looking for ways that we can help.
Frost says his team's close-knit relationship will transfer onto the field in their upcoming games. Offensive lineman Jordan Johnson says they're ready to take on the Maryland Terrapins this weekend.
We came in and we grinded it out, and I think we're ready to go now.
Johnson hopes the extra bonding time with his players will help when it's time to face the Terrapins.
That's all we have for sports today. Back to you guys at the desk.
And that's our time for right now. Thank you for joining us. And remember, you can always keep up with us during the week. Have a great week.